Good morning, guys. We're about to go live. Let me know any questions that you have throughout the show. Good morning, Chattanooga, and everywhere else, whoever's tuning in on Facebook Live and wherever you're listening from. I'm super excited to have you here this morning. I can't wait to go over the topics that we're going to go over today. If this is your first time tuning into our show, I just want to say welcome. I'm super glad that you're here. Our goal, Dr. Rebecca and myself, our goal is very, very simple. It's to educate you guys in the realm of health and really what's going on with our health. And then also it's to empower. So it's to give you guys some of the tools that you need to be able to take control of your health. And then it's about engagement, getting you out there to act upon it, exercising, eating well, actually following through with some of the things that we talk about. And so that's really our purpose with our Doctors Warren and our Wellness Radio that we do on a weekly basis. And so if you guys have any questions as we go throughout the show, please let us know, here on Facebook Live, or you can call into the radio show, 267-1023. Again, that's 423-267-1023. And you can ask your questions there. We always love to answer questions. And this is your first time tuning into our show as well. Just a little bit about Dr. Rebecca and myself. We have a health center here in Chattanooga. We are located in the Hamilton Place area, right across from the YMCA, right next to the Home Depot. And there we work with kids of all ages, adults of all ages. We have families, families of 3 and 4, all the way up to 7 and 8. So we're really dealing with a lot of people on a regular basis that really want to get well, or people that have no idea how to get well but they have the desire to do something different. I get people on a regular basis. I had 3 last week that came in that talked to me about how much they just couldn't stand going to their doctors and getting more and more medication, that they were tired of that. They were sick of that vicious cycle. And I hear that story a lot, right? I mean, it's at this point, it's almost predictable. But at the same time, every single time I hear it, I still feel for them, because even though I've heard it 1,000 times, we're talking about people that are coming to the realization that, what they're doing is not working, right? Beating your head against the same wall over and over again, it's not working. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. So we want to be different than that. So it is a blessing to be able to work with people, at a cellular level, at a body level, at a holistic level, and be able to help them get well and see those results happen, which is super, super exciting. So some of the topics we're going to go over today on the show, so that way you guys are prepared and you kind of know what we're going to be going over in the first couple segments. I'm going to talk about, what is the deal with cholesterol? Because I think this is a really important one. Most of you guys, when it comes to cholesterol, you've heard, kind of 2 sides of the fence. You've heard, cholesterol is the worst thing in the world when it comes to the heart, and other people have heard, well, cholesterol is not bad at all. So I'm going to go through the ins and outs of it a little bit more in depth than I've ever gone, really on this radio show before. So I want to go into the depths of that, and really the reason why is because there's this major movement right now, and I'm kind of shocked by it, to be honest with you, but there is a major movement of really trying to get, pretty much all sources of cholesterol out of the diet. And again, I'm going to go over why that may not be the best strategy to do, especially if you're trying to prevent heart disease. Are there a certain amount of people that should cut out certain types of fat? Maybe based on some genetic testing. So I'm going to go over that as well. So I'm going to be going over the ins and outs of cholesterol. And also too, I'm going to be going over, is LDL, the worst thing is LDL the worst thing that you could possibly have that's elevated? I'm going to be going over the details of that and what do some studies say. And then I'm also going to be going over what are the most important heart healthy nutrients and foods and herbs that you can consume on a regular basis, and what are the big bombs for the heart? What are the ones that you do not want to touch? With a what does the Grinch song say? With a 35.5 foot pole, right? The foods and the certain different types of oils and those things that we should not be touching if you want to have a heart that's healthy and vibrant and well. So that's going to be a lot of what we touch on in the first hour today. In the second hour, I will be going off of Facebook Live, so those of you that are listening to Facebook Live right now, if you want to catch my second hour, you need to go to wgow.com and you can listen live, mainly because there's certain topics that I can't talk about on Facebook Live anymore if I want to keep certain, if we want to keep this stuff going and this education going. But I do want to dive more in depth with these subjects that are in our current event. So if you want to learn more about that in our second hour, you'll just have to go to wgow.com, right? That's Talk 102.3, the station that we're on. And you can listen live on there, live to my second hour as well. All right? So let's dive into this just a little bit. What brought this up? So what brought up, you guys know that certain things that I talk about on the radio show are because they either made me happy, they made me excited, or they just frankly ticked me off, right? And so, this is more into the ticked me off category because I heard two different individuals this week tell me that their friends or somebody that they know or a family member that told them that really we don't want hardly any cholesterol at all, and that if we do this, then that's going to be the thing that damages our arteries, damages our liver, damages our heart, and primarily they were referring to a doctor who calls himself a natural health doctor, that I don't really care too much for. He's the one that promotes doing the celery juice all the time. And anyway, apparently he gets his information from talking to a spirit, not the spirit, but a spirit, which is super interesting. So, again, if you want to get your information from that, go ahead. I'm not a big fan. So I'm going to talk about what does the science actually say behind cholesterol. And so when we look at something like cholesterol, number one, we have to establish this. Cholesterol is absolutely 100% necessary. And it does not all come from the diet. And actually the majority of it does not come from the diet. 80% is produced within the liver. That means we're talking endogenous cholesterol production. When we look outside of the liver, 20% comes from our diet, right? And so when we're looking at that 20%, it's amazing how much we hang our hat on that 20%, rather than recognizing that the internal processes that are going on may determine our cholesterol status more than the foods that we bring in. So that being said, let's think about this for just a second. If 80% of the cholesterol that's being produced is the primary source of cholesterol is within the body, it's in the liver, maybe we should pay attention to the liver, right? And so when we look at the liver, is consuming lots of different types of fat, is that necessarily the thing that damages the liver over time? And the answer to that, the quick answer to that is it depends, right? It depends on what type of fat that we're talking about. And so, when it comes to cholesterol overall, let's talk about within first. So yes, we have to make sure the liver is working well. Number two that I find that really affects our cholesterol levels and our triglyceride levels and our HDL and LDL is looking at the amount of inflammation that's going on in the body. Now, what determines the amount of inflammation that's going on in the body? Well, there could be several different factors. We always look at stress, and stress can be divided into three different categories. We can have physical stress, emotional stress, and chemical stress. And within those, I would also probably throw spiritual stress in there. But again, it's up to you. So physical stress, chemical stress, emotional stress. So when we're looking at those stressors there, they can look different for each and every person. Somebody may say, well, I don't get the physical stressor. Like I'm a pretty calm person. I have pretty low blood pressure. I don't, overreact to certain situations. I'm pretty laid back. Everything's pretty chill most of the time. So you know what, the emotional stress for you may not be that bad. But you also may be a person that even though you're chill all the time, maybe you work outside and you have a physically demanding job that requires you to lift heavy things in awkward situations, or you're on an assembly line that requires you to do the same motions, repetitive motions over time. Maybe you're a desk worker who literally sits at a desk, basically 8 hours a day looking down at a computer. You have major physical stress to the nervous system, which actually affects the way that the hypothalamus functions. And so when we look at that, that's a physical stressor. So you don't have the emotional side, but you do have the physical side. Maybe you're somebody who's like, no. My physical side is good. I stand most of the day. I walk most of the day with my job. But at the same time, I have to meet massive amounts of deadlines. So I have that emotional stress going on, or I have family issues that are going on. Or some of you don't have either one of those and you have chemical issues, right? So you've been exposed to heavy metals, you've been exposed to mold, maybe you're a teacher, where according to the EPA, about 80% of the school buildings in the United States have underlying mold issues. Holy flippin' moly, are you kidding me? So mold is a destroyer of the nervous system, a destroyer of the immune system. And you want to talk about driving up inflammatory levels, that will do it. So when we're talking about, again, what creates inflammation in the body, it's one of those stressors, or for some of you, it's all of those stressors. Some of your stressors may be all the medication that you're on. Other stressors may be all the crap food that you're taking in on a regular basis. Some of you may be that you haven't exercised in 6, 7, 8, 9 months, let alone 3, 4, 5 years. And so whatever those stressors are, stress is going to be a primary inflammatory builder. And so when we look at it, there's certain types of good stress and there's bad stress. Good stress may be you getting off the couch and going to work out. You're going to have some soreness. You're going to have some muscle tearing, but guess what's going to happen? It's a hormetic stress, which means you're going to get a positive effect from that later on. And there's certain foods that do the same thing. So we know that there's certain types of stress, also like getting in cold weather, going back into hot weather, kind of going back and forth. That's a hormetic stress. That's a good stress. But it's the bad stresses that keep our bodies inflamed. And when we're talking about inflammation, we're talking at a cellular level. And so this inflammation will drive up cholesterol levels, and it will drive up triglycerides, and it will drive up your LDL, and it will drive down your HDL because you're creating damage in the body. So that being said, that's the primary thing that we have to deal with. Yes, so that means even if you cut out all of your good animal fat, all of your good animal protein, even if you cut those things out, guess what? 80% is still produced in the body. And if you have underlying stressors that are damaging it, you're not going to solve the issue. And that's my biggest pet peeve with it. So I have to go on break. So when I come back, I'm going to go over some of the solutions with that and really take a deeper dive into, LDL and what that looks like, and some of the primary things you can do to squash the inflammation, and then what type of diet is going to be the most appropriate diet, again, to get a handle on cholesterol, to get a handle on triglycerides, to get a handle on the inflammatory processes going on in the body, and in order to be able to see the heart actually thrive through that. So as I'm going on break, if you guys are listening, if you have a man in your life, or if you are a man, guys, you need to get signed up for my Men's Metabolic Reset. We actually only have 4 spots left because, again, I cap it at 10, and we had several people sign up last week. I'm super excited about it, guys. This is going to be, this is one of my favorite things to do in the office. Actually, my last one that I did, we extended it out like 2 or 3 more weeks because we were just having so much fun with it. But it's a 7-week program where it's designed to reset your metabolic processes. It's designed to teach you how to eat well. It's designed to teach you how to exercise. It's designed to teach you how to detox. It's designed to do things like help you figure out over time how to get your testosterone levels up, how to get your libido up, how to get your vitality up, how to prevent things like heart disease and prostate issues. It's all things man, and that's what we're going to be going over in the 7-week process. I'm going to educate and teach the process so that somebody knows, a man knows how to take care of his health for a lifetime and how to make it a lifestyle, not just a 30-day thing. So again, 7-week course. It's Men's Metabolic Reset. I'm going to be doing it live here in our clinic here in Chattanooga. So again, if you want to get signed up for that, or if you have a husband or a grandfather that you want to get signed up for that, I am doing free consults with the people that want to get signed up for this. So if you want to, you can go to our website, drswarren.com, or you can give the girls a call at the office. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. Give them a call. Our clinic director, Mary Beth, will get you set up for a free 10-minute consult with myself. That's just to make sure you're a good fit, because I want you to be somebody who wants to take their health to the next level. All the guys that are signed up right now, they're pumped, they're ready to go, they're excited to make these lifestyle changes, and they just want to know how to do it. So I can't wait to get started. So if you want to do that, my men's metabolic reset, again, you can give the girls a call, 423-362-5360. Get signed up for a free 10-minute consult with myself, where I'll get on a call with you and really kind of pick your brain about what your health goals are and if you're a good fit for the program. So again, guys, this is Wellness Radio. I'll see you right back after the break. All right, guys, welcome on Facebook Live. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Talking about this subject is really, it's one of my biggest pet peeves, because I look at blood work all the time with my patients. Dr. Rebecca does the same thing. And it's amazing how most doctors are still only looking at total cholesterol, LDL, and HDL. And some of them will throw in triglycerides. And so really, which kind of blows my mind, because if we're going to look at something far more dangerous or more accurate, triglycerides are going to be, in that realm. But the majority of them are only looking at total cholesterol, and they're only looking at LDL and HDL. And that just drives me flipping up the wall, because you have to be a good 10 to 15 years behind what the medical research says to only look at those factors and then determine whether somebody needs to be on statin medications, or to determine if somebody needs certain types of procedures for the heart, or determine, again, if they're going to be a candidate one day for heart disease. And so it's just such weak markers overall when we look at that. So when we examine, cholesterol overall, like I went over just a second ago, we have to first, go over the endogenous cholesterol that's produced within the liver that makes up about 80%. And I said earlier, inflammation is one of the major causes of that. And when I'm talking about inflammation, you guys know I'm not talking about a sprained ankle, acute inflammation. I'm talking about chronic inflammation that's inflaming the actual cell, right? We're talking about inflammation that's been there for years and years. And so when we look in the realm of heart disease, you guys already know individuals like this, right? You know the individuals that they looked good on the outside, they sounded good, everything sounded normal, they looked normal, and yet they, you heard about over the holidays they died of a heart attack, or you got a call on a random Wednesday and boom, they were in the hospital because they just had a heart attack. That heart attack, that heart disease did not just develop overnight. It did not just develop from their last 2 weeks of meals. Their heart disease developed over the course of years, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years worth of damage that created the heart disease. And so when we look at that, we have to recognize that it's something that your actions now will determine how well you do in the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So the decisions you make now about your heart determine that. And so one of the biggest things that I'm going to go over here in just a minute is what type of diet is going to be the healthiest for heart health. All right, guys, welcome back to Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren, and so today I'm going all things cholesterol. I'm going over everything about, is LDL really all it's, all the evil that it's made out to be, and really what are we looking for when we're looking at blood work? So let's dive into that for just a second, because I know a lot of you guys, are senior primary care physicians, and you're getting blood work pulled, unfortunately, like once a year, which is basically worthless. If you are only getting your blood work pulled once a year, you are missing out on what's going on with the physiology of your body. That is not enough to understand the patterns of what are going on. Remember, your body is literally right now, as you're sitting here listening to me talk, is going through infinite amount of processes that you can't even imagine. And so if you think you can understand what's going on with your physiology with one labs, one set of labs done per year, then that is absolutely insane. You have to be checking your blood work on a regular basis. I think that's something that, why not, right? If you can, why guess if you can test and figure this out, especially if you're somebody who does have or has had heart issues, or you have a family history of heart issues. You want to be getting your blood work done at least once a quarter, so that way you can kind of see some patterns that are developing, because patterns are going to tell you much more than just once a year. So when you get your blood work done, here's how you know you need to run the other way from your doctor. If your doctor only tests your total cholesterol, your LDL, and your HDL. If your doctor makes statements like, oh no, we got to get your total cholesterol down as low as we possibly can get it. If your doctor makes statements about how all saturated fat is bad for every individual. If your doctor makes a statement about, no, you need to not eat any animal products or any animal protein or any animal fat if you want to prevent heart disease overall. If your doctor makes any of those statements, you might want to run the other way and find somebody who's more up to date on the scientific literature, because all of those things have falsities in it. So number one, if you're going to get blood work done, here's the things that you need to do. One of the most important ones that we run in this office is we run something called the NMR profile. So that is actually looking at the particle size. We are looking at particle size, and we're also looking at ratios. So particle size, there's a difference with your cholesterol. So to put it in more simple terms, you can have cholesterol particles that are small and dense, or you can have cholesterol particles that are big and fluffy, right? And so when you see these small, dense particles, if you have a lot of small, dense, again, looking at like your LDL, if you have a lot of small, dense particles, then guess what, guys? You are more likely, right, to develop things like atherosclerosis and develop, some plaquing in the arteries. But you may have elevated cholesterol numbers, but if you have more of the large, fluffy type of cholesterol, floating around in your bloodstream, it's not going to stick as much. It's not going to sit in some of that damaged area of the arteries and vessels. So guess what that means? That means your likelihood of developing plaquing in the arteries is much, much less. So I really like to look at particle size. Is it small and dense, or is it large and fluffy? So having your doctor run like an NMR profile is really, really important. Some other markers that I think are important, have them run your triglyceride levels, and then have them look at ratios, like things like HDL, the total cholesterol, compared to, LDL, looking at your triglycerides compared to LDL, and checking out some of those ratios are going to be really, really important for you, because it's the ratios that are going to really determine how big of a chance you have for developing heart disease. Some other things that you can look at as well that I like to look at is your C-reactive protein, your CRP. Finding out, really how much inflammation total do you have, especially when we're looking at, the cardiac system. CRP is going to be a really, really great marker. It's going to be a more, general marker of inflammation, and again, dealing with the cardiovascular system. So we want to check C-reactive protein. We also want to check your A1C, right? We want to see what is the 3-month average of your blood glucose. If you have an elevated A1C, guess what? We already know that prediabetes and diabetes is going to be one of the biggest markers of basically predicting whether or not you're going to have heart disease, because again, it's going to drastically elevate your chances of getting something like, of one day having a heart attack or a stroke. So we really want to check that A1C. Some other ones that I think are important to check, I always like to check homocysteine, and it's not necessarily just a heart marker. Like I know homocysteine, like for example, above a 7 or an 8 can increase your risk of things like neurological, cognitive issues later on. So again, I like to check that along with it. If you can't get that one, not quite as big deal, especially when we're talking about the heart. But CRP, A1C, checking the NMR profile and the particle size, and then looking at, triglycerides. Then you can have the cholesterol, the LDL, and the HDL. All right, now, once you get those numbers, let me give you some examples of people that I'm more, prone to say, okay, well, your cholesterol is maybe not quite as big of a deal. And then some of those that I say, well, yeah, this is a bigger deal than we thought. So number one, if I have somebody with an elevated A1C and an elevated CRP, and they've got around, they've got like, less than 180 total cholesterol, their LDL and HDL are doing pretty decent, but their CRP, A1C are elevated, guess what? I'm like, dude, you are going to be a candidate for heart disease one day. There's no doubt, because again, you've got two markers that are going to lead to different types of damage in the heart later on in life. So we really want to get a hold on that. Now, if I have somebody with normal CRP, they have a great A1C, and they have, a cholesterol that's over 200, their HDL's in a pretty good spot, and their LDL may be a little bit elevated, I'm not quite as worried about that person, because again, I know metabolically they've got some great things going on. And remember that your body naturally is going to utilize cholesterol to heal and repair certain areas. What do we mean by that? Cholesterol is the primary source of what your brain is made out of. About 70 to 75% of your brain is made of cholesterol. We know that literally your cell membranes are made of cholesterol. It's made of fat. So if you do not have proper cholesterol levels, or if you're not consuming enough good healthy fat, again, we know that we are damaging our cell membranes. We're putting at a greater risk of things like cognitive decline, things like Alzheimer's and dementia later on. And so we have to have those proper sources of cholesterol. Also, remember this, your sex hormones are primarily, their base is of cholesterol. Your testosterone levels, your estrogen levels, your progesterone levels, these are a base of cholesterol. So if we do not have enough cholesterol, that is a big problem. Also, cholesterol is a repair mechanism. Remember, if your body, let's say you have some damage to your arteries and vessels, and again, you have to repair that, your body is going to utilize that LDL, which is a transport protein, to take the cholesterol to that area to repair, which is a good thing, again, but if you are constantly having inflammation and damage, and it's constantly having to utilize that LDL to transport cholesterol to those damaged areas, that's where it can become a major problem. So again, we want to really make sure that we're actually getting down to the root cause. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of some of the blood work that I would run there, and some of the patients that I would be more, worried about, or patients that I wouldn't be quite as worried about. Because again, when I'm looking at cholesterol like maximum, or when I'm looking at cholesterol as far as optimal, I like to look for it around the 200 spot. Because again, then I know you at least have enough cholesterol to really, affect the brain, to have an effect on your hormones, to have an effect on your cell membranes. But also I like for those other markers, those to me more important markers like A1C, CRP, particle size, I like to see those within normal ranges. And remember, if you're somebody who's had a heart attack in the past, or you're somebody that, again, family history is really, really high of heart disease, if you're somebody that's really worried about, I would recommend that you talk to your medical doctor, you talk to your primary care physician about getting an actual calcium scan or a calcium score done on the heart. I think that's going to be a really good gold standard test. Have them run some more advanced tests so that they can at least get a baseline of where you're at, overall. So there's just some other tests that can be run. And again, recognizing that, you still have to get down to the root cause of the heart disease. Even though that you have, family members that have had heart disease, that doesn't mean it has to be you. Even if you've had everyone that's had heart disease, that doesn't mean it has to be you. It's the environment that you create that really determines what genes are expressed and what genes are not expressed. So again, if you live a different type of lifestyle than all of your family members that developed heart disease, guess what? Your likelihood of developing it is a lot less than your family members, because your environment controls gene expression, all right? So I got to go on break again. If you guys want to join my Men's Metabolic Reset, get signed up. Again, like I said, there's only a few spots left. I'm maxing it out at 10 in the office. If you want to get signed up for it, 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. A lot of people tell me all the time, listen, I want to make changes. I just don't know how to do it, or I want to make changes. It's just been a little bit hard to navigate the waters of what to eat, how to exercise, how to detoxify, what supplements are right for me. And I get that. That's why I'm doing this men's metabolic reset. This is why I spend 7 weeks with men. Again, we meet once a week. We go over in detail and we talk about what type of plan it takes to be able to achieve their health. We get to dive into topics like testosterone. We get to dive into topics like prostate. We get to dive into topics like heart disease. And we really get to go over what's going to create a vibrant life for you as a man. So if you want to join, 423-362-5360, our clinic director, Mary Beth, will get you set up for a free 10-minute consult with me. That way I can make sure that you are a good candidate for this. And if you're a good candidate, man, we're going to dive into some of the best information you've heard in your life on your health and really help you take it to the next level. So 423-362-5360. This is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, guys. So hopefully that made sense as far as the blood work goes, what you're kind of looking for, just as a repeat, since you guys are so amazing and on live with me. Again, when it comes to cholesterol, just let's recap what we've talked about so far. Again, 80% comes from the liver, 20% comes from diet. No, it is not the truth that you need to cut out all animal fat and animal protein, which I'm going to go over more in depth here in just a minute when we go back live again, talking about the optimal diet for the heart, for your vessels, for reducing inflammation. But again, 80% is what's going on endogenous. And so I've had patients in the past, I've had individuals who have literally went completely vegan. They went completely plant-based. They're drinking celery juice in the morning because some doctor who listens to his spirit tells them to do that, like the medical medium, which I think is an absolute joke. But anyway, they've really went off the deep end because they think that their body should have no cholesterol. And that's absolutely nuts. We have to have forms of cholesterol. Your brain is made of 70 to 75% cholesterol. Your cell membranes are made of cholesterol and fat. The backbone and base of your sex hormones is made of cholesterol and fat. Cholesterol is used as a mechanism to heal and repair damage in your vessels and arteries. So we have to have cholesterol produced. Well, when you're looking at it, LDL, by the way, here's a bombshell that I'm going to be going over in just a minute. LDL, actually elevated LDL, in your medical doctor's office looks like, oh my gosh, there is no way, that you can have an elevated LDL because you're going to have a heart attack. That's so bad. We got to put you on a statin to lower your LDL. When in actuality, when you look at the scientific literature, did you guys know there's been about 15 different major studies looking at, peer-reviewed studies, looking at how LDL can actually be protective for the brain and have protective properties. One study even showing that it decreases your overall mortality rate. That was actually a study done on nurses. And so what they looked at is the higher, actually their elevated LDL was a protective mechanism for all-cause mortality. So LDL is not all that it's cracked up to be. It's not the most evil thing on the planet. Again, we have to understand the ins and outs of cholesterol. LDL is not cholesterol at all. It is a transport protein. It is literally transporting the cholesterol to the damaged area. So think about it. Let's think about it logically for just a minute. If you do not have the LDL to transport cholesterol to the damaged area to make repairs, what does that mean for the damaged area? It's going to continue to get worse over time. This is why, again, elevated LDL was shown in several peer-reviewed studies to actually be protective to all-cause mortality. It's also been shown, elevated LDL has been shown in peer-reviewed literature to be protective for things like Alzheimer's and dementia. So for neurological or for cognitive decline diseases, we know that it's been shown to be protective. So again, LDL is not the most evil thing in the world. And yet I still have patients, even patients that have been with me for years, that are still worried about their total cholesterol numbers. And I have to remind them that cholesterol is not the primary issue, right? What are some of the other markers we just went over as a recap? C-reactive protein, where is it at? Is it elevated? A1C, where is it at? Is it elevated? If both of those are elevated, you better believe you are a great candidate for heart disease. You better believe you're a great candidate for a heart attack or stroke sometime in your lifetime, because you have elevated inflammation, systemic inflammation, and you also have, again, pre-diabetes or full-blown diabetes, which is going to drastically elevate your risk of heart disease. So we have to recognize really the primary reasons why cholesterol, again, can be a friend, can be a foe. Cholesterol is not something that we need to get as low as we possibly can. About to go live in just a second. So if you guys have any questions, ask them. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Wellness Radio. I am your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. We're going over everything cholesterol. So in the first two segments, if you missed them, get live on Facebook, Doctors Warren, on Facebook, DRS, WARREN, because we went over a lot. I really don't want to repeat them again, and I repeated them twice on Facebook Live for you guys that missed it. If you're just now tuning in on the radio, or if you're just now tuning on Facebook Live, you can go back. I've talked about, again, is cholesterol dangerous? Looking at where does cholesterol come from? How is it made? Does all cholesterol come from the diet? The answer to that is no. 80% is produced within the liver. I also went over what are the primary tests that you want to get run, lab work that you want to get run if you are trying to pay attention to your heart and your heart health overall. So I went over all of that. Now what I want to go over is what are some of the solutions that we have to actually be able to be cardioprotective. So how can we protect our heart? So number one, let's break down nutrition. Let's break down the diet. You hear this argument go back and forth between, should I eat a vegan diet, completely plant-based? Should I be carnivore and just eat, animal products and everything in between, right? So what is the true answer? What does it look like? Well, the answer is really, everybody's right in one way or another. And what do I mean by that? It's all about varying the diet. So if you are a person that has stuck with a plant-based diet and completely vegan, and you're doing that for years and years and years, probably not going to be the best choice for you. If you're somebody who, again, is completely carnivore and you've done that for years and years and years and years, might not be the best choice for you. Now, you're going to have an outlier or two in both categories, which means you're going to have somebody that, again, maybe they have certain types of inflammatory chronic disease, where a carnivore diet has been absolutely amazing for them, like, for example, psoriatic arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, and they've seen some really fantastic results with a carnivore diet, doing it the way it's supposed to be done, which is nose to tail, consuming organ meats, consuming lots of bone broth, consuming tons of collagen, even doing things like to get your calcium up, consuming good sources of seafood, and really getting a variety of different things there, pastured eggs, those type of things. So if you're doing it the right way over here, you may get good benefits, and there are those outliers that would need to stay there. Just like, in the plant-based side of things, yeah, there's those outliers that just seem to really, really thrive on that. Maybe it's somebody who's had breast cancer for a couple different times, and they're doing it the right way, where they're consuming high amounts of nutrient-dense plant-based foods. They're still getting all of those great plant-based fats to build up cell membranes, and they're making sure they're getting plenty of protein from certain types of superfoods that are out there, like spirulina, chlorella, certain forms of algae, and that type of thing. So they're really, really building up. So maybe you have some outliers there. But for the majority of us, our bodies are built for diet variation. That means that you are not built to consume one complete diet for every single day of your life. That means we're meant to go back and forth based on what's available in our area and based on what season it's in. So I do believe in eating seasonally. So that being said, when you look at our ancestors, the majority of the time, as you hit more into the spring and the summer, they may have been eating more plant-based foods. Maybe they're consuming wild plants and nuts and seeds and berries and certain types of fruit that they find. Most societies are still going to be consuming some type of animal, fat and animal protein, even in that time as well, or wild-caught fish or seafood. Why? Because when you're looking at nutrient density, you're going to always get more bang for your buck when it comes to properly raised wild caught or pasture raised, animals and seafood and fish. So again, that's what you're looking at in those seasons. As you get more into the fall and the winter, you kind of transition the diet, right? Because what happens in a lot of cultures in a lot of places, it gets cold, right? Or maybe it snows, or maybe there's ice. But things change. You're not going to find wild plants. You're not going to find some of those nuts and seeds. You may still find some berries in cold weather. But again, for the majority, it's going to shift over to consuming higher amounts of animal fat and animal protein. And so again, that way you're getting plenty of sources of nutrients. And so that's where you see that diet shift. And we actually know there's publications looking at the microbiome and looking at our gut. Our gut bacteria actually can change based on the seasons. Now, it doesn't happen quite as much as it used to, mainly because now you can buy blueberries all year round, or you can get, bananas that are shipped in from, wherever bananas are shipped from. Again, you can get them at all seasons of the year. So we kind of moved away from our seasonal eating. So all that to be said, that's why I believe in diet variation. So no, you should not just stay plant-based for a lifetime. A lot of my patients that I've seen that have really been, struggled with thyroid issues, hormones tanking, have actually been some of the best plant-based eaters that I've ever seen. And it's because they're lacking things like zinc and choline. Choline is a major one in certain types of B vitamins, like riboflavin, things like folate, and also looking at like B12 as well. So that's one of those things. I've also seen people that are eating high amounts of processed meats or high amounts of, just absolutely crappy meat that are full of antibiotics and hormones. And so when we see that, again, that is a quick way to build up inflammation. That's a quick way to die, of heart disease and cancer. So again, we don't want to have either one of those extremes. So what do I talk about as far as an anti-inflammatory diet, or what do I talk about as some of the best heart healthy diets that are out there? Well, guess what? Got to go on break, but I'm going to go through that when I get back from the break. And if you're live on Facebook, I'm going to go ahead and go into it with you. So if you're not, join me, Doctors Warren, DRSWARREN on Facebook. Like and follow our page. Share it if you enjoy the information that we're going over, and we'll make sure that, again, you can follow all the videos that we do throughout the week. So if you want to join my Men's Metabolic Reset, you want to learn all the things I'm talking about today, but in detail and in an easy to implement way, give Mary Beth a call. That's our clinic director. That number is 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. And again, she'll get you set up for a convenient time for you to be able to get on a 10-minute call with me, a free consult, so that I can make sure you're the right fit for our men's metabolic group. Again, we only have a few spots left. So if you want to get involved, it's a 7-week program that I do live here in the office. You need to give her a call and get signed up for it. We haven't even opened it up yet fully to our people in the clinic. And once we do that, guys, it will sell out for sure. So again, if you want a spot in my Men's Metabolic Reset coming up in the new year, go ahead and give her a call, 423-362-5360, and she'll get you set up with that consult with me. So again, guys, this is Wellness Radio with Dr. Nathan Warren. I'll be right back after the break. All right, guys, so it looks like we have some questions, so I'm going to pull it up over here so I can try to answer those for you guys. Let's see. There we go. All right, so we've got, let's see, Joel, what's up, man? So I got my brother-in-law tuning in from Orlando, Tilvero High as well. Let's see, Robert says, can you correspond on Zoom instead of coming in office for the men's health? Let's see. So Robert, that's a really great question. I should be able to do that. We have a way to do that. So to Zoom it, and also to actually upload it into a course. So absolutely. So if you give Mary Beth a call, Robert, we can absolutely do that. I know there's certain people that are going to want to not necessarily do it live with everything that's kind of going on right now. So yeah, if that's something that you want to do, and also too, if you're one of those people that can really hold yourself accountable, we can definitely do that for you. So give her a call, 423-362-5360. Again, that's 423-362-5360. And she can get you set up. Same thing, 10-minute consult over the phone. And then if you're a good fit and it's something that you want to do, Robert, we can absolutely set it up where we can do it via Zoom. I will record every single one that I'm doing because I like for my men's metabolic reset to get all the recordings of the different topics. So you can absolutely do that. Give her a call, 423-362-5360. So now, as we're going through the rest of the show, I really primarily want to talk about, the diet. What is the optimal diet? What are things that are certain foods that are going to be amazing for the heart and certain foods that are going to be an absolute bomb for the heart? So we talked about diet variation and how important that is. And again, we talked about not going to extremes, right? Like extremes are usually not, the proper thing unless there's a certain reason why. I went over the difference between carnivore diet and the difference between, plant-based diet. Now, you can do both of those for a certain period of time and see amazing results on both ends. But then again, going back and varying the diet is going to be the key to long-term health. That's the way our bodies were designed. So when we look at this, that means that, again, when I'm looking at a heart-healthy diet, there's certain foods that stand out to me that I think are going to be the most powerful, foods that you can consume. One of those that I think is an absolute heart-healthy food is olive oil. So if you are not consuming high amounts of olive oil on a regular basis, you are missing out. Now, here's the bombshell with olive oil. Not all olive oil is created equal. Unfortunately, the majority of the olive oil that you find in the store, number one, has sat in a bottle for years, and number two, it's really lost its nutrient value, and number two, what ends up happening, I know I said two twice. Number three is what it ends up happening is that because the harvest date was so far from there, it oxidizes the oil that's inside. So you're really losing out on a lot of the powerful benefits of olive oil. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Wellness Radio. I'm your health expert, Dr. Nathan Warren. I'm going over all things heart today, specifically in the realm of cholesterol. So really, I only have a few minutes left, so I want to dive into this for you guys. What are some of the most important heart-healthy foods to eat? What are some of the biggest heart bombs that you can consume on a regular basis? So heart healthy. The first one I went over on Facebook Live, olive oil. You got to be consuming olive oil, but we got to be consuming real, organic, extra virgin olive oil. We like to order ours to make sure that it is about as fresh as it can get. So we use something called Casadrinos. I think that starts with a K, Casadrinos, and it gets shipped to our house, and it's usually within 3 to 5 months of the harvest date. So again, we know we're getting really fresh. What are some things you can look for if you're at the store? Look for extra virgin. It has to say extra virgin. Otherwise, it did not meet the quality standards to make it extra virgin. So it has to say extra virgin. It needs to say organic so that way you can make sure that there's been nothing sprayed on those olives. There's been nothing done that could harm, the nutrient value of those. And then you want to look at the harvest date, right? Does it have a harvest date on it? If it doesn't have a harvest date, I wouldn't buy it. If the harvest date is within a year, go for it. That's going to be a pretty good olive oil. And if it meets those standards, olive oil is one of the most powerful things that you can consume for heart health. Now, when we're looking at studies done on olive oil, we know that olive oil is consumed in high amounts in those studies. Actually, the majority of those on average are looking at about 3 shot glasses worth of olive oil on a daily basis. So put it on your salads. You can put it in your smoothies. You can actually add it to things like different types of fruit and berries that actually bring out, when you add that good fat to those type of antioxidant-rich and polyphenol-rich foods, you actually get more nutrients absorbed into your cells. cells. So yes, if you take a bowl of blueberries and you add a little bit of olive oil to it, yeah, it's going to help with the absorption of those nutrients. If you add it to your smoothie, again, it's going to add, to the absorption of those nutrients. And I've even changed my stance on this. You can even cook with really good quality fresh olive oil. If it's not fresh, I wouldn't cook with it, but you can cook with even fresh olive oil because of its ability to withstand heat. It's actually pretty amazing at that, which I used to think was not the case. So olive oil, Mediterranean diet has been around for years, and really when you look at it, it's consuming high amounts of real food, overall. So you're looking at things like wild-caught seafood. You're looking at things like polyphenol-rich olive oils and red wine and consuming those type of things. You're looking at, a diet that's rich in vegetables, and it's rich in certain types of grains, but those grains are usually in the gluten-free form. And I would even say that even though that's a part of a Mediterranean diet, I wouldn't say that that's the best part of the Mediterranean diet. Again, all diets have their flaws. I think that is the flaw. So I would consume, if I were going to pick a good heart healthy diet to consume, I would consume, a diet that's really, really rich in lots of good healthy vegetables, specifically in the cruciferous form, in the green leafy vegetable form. Throw in some colors with different types of peppers and carrots and those type of things. Consume tons of herbs. That's one thing the Mediterranean diet is full of. Things like rosemary and oregano. Those have amazing heart healthy benefits. Consuming lots of olive oils, consuming lots of good healthy fat like olives, avocados, consuming pasture-raised eggs. And when you consume meat, make sure that number one, you don't have to completely, go overboard on your meat consumption, but you can consume good quality pasture-raised or wild-caught fish and seafood, so really, really good high-quality sources, and cook them in ways that are not going to damage that good fat. So what I mean, not frying them, cooking them in really, really good quality oil like avocado oil, grass-fed butter, ghee, those type of things. So that's really what you're going to be looking at when you're eating a high-quality diet that's going to be amazing at reducing inflammation in the body. Consume lots of raw nuts and seeds, again, and get lots of good quality, high polyphenols and high antioxidant berries into your diet as well. Lots of nutrients overall. So hopefully that gives you some good ideas there as far as heart healthy things go. If you want more information about my men's metabolic reset, 423-362-5360. Again, 423-362-5360. You can give Mary Beth a call, get signed up for it. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Get that spot while it's still there. 423-362-5360 for my 7-week men's metabolic reset. I can't wait to see you guys there. This has been Wellness Radio. I'll see you guys next week. All right, guys, I'm going to go over a few more things if you don't mind. I'm going to go over some of the supplementation for looking at, creating a healthy heart, because I do think this is important. So hopefully I answered your questions as far as the food goes, right? So when it comes to the food, we know that we're eating lots of wild-caught fish and seafood. We're eating tons of, pasture-raised, or we're eating lots of pasture-raised meat, pasture-raised eggs, those type of things. But when we're also consuming high amounts of vegetables, again, nutrient-dense vegetables like cruciferous vegetables, lots of leafy green vegetables, cooked in different ways, raw and cooked. Throw in some different colors with that, like onions and garlic and things like red peppers, red bell peppers, and utilizing lots of herbs like rosemary, oregano. Throw in some of those other things like mint and thyme to really get some really great polyphenols and antioxidants. The other thing that we want to do as well is we want to make sure that we're consuming high amounts of things like berries and good healthy fat, that it's going to provide a lot of good antioxidants and everything that's really, really rich for you as well too. Now, as far as supplementation goes, I really think, consuming things that again, ubiquinone or CoQ10, really looking at the reduced form of it in the form of ubiquinone. And so I really like to utilize, anywhere, if you're somebody that suffers with heart disease, I would go more around the 400 milligrams a day of CoQ10. If you're someone that's more in the preventative stages, maybe around the 200 to 300 milligrams of CoQ10 a day. The other things that I really like quite a bit, make sure your vitamin D levels are high. 60 to 90 or 60 to 100 is what you're looking for on blood work. Also consuming lots of good healthy plant-based fats. So from a supplementation standpoint, I like Pure Form Omega. That's something that I use. That's something that my family uses. And that's all raw, unadulterated, proper ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 healthy fats. So that includes things like organic hemp seed oil, organic borage oil, organic evening primrose oil, organic, raw cold pressed coconut oil, and again, flaxseed oil. Those are all in there at a proper ratio of an omega-6 omega-3 ratio of about 2.5 to 3 to 1 ratio there. That's going to be perfect for your cell membrane. So I like consuming that from a supplemental standpoint. And if you go to our website, you can find that, doctorswarren.com. You can go to our shop and you can find Pure Form Omega on some of our favorites there that you can get to. And so that will be something that I really like a lot. Now, what about fish oil? Not a fan of fish oil. If you're going to consume some type of oil like that, krill oil, I would go with that. If you need to lower inflammation in the heart really, really quickly, you can utilize krill oil, and you can utilize it for a couple months. But then I would go more into getting your good healthy fats from whole food sources, and that's going to be a much better option as well. Making sure from a heart healthy standpoint that you're decreasing inflammation. So I like to use something called Inflammatone. Inflammatone by Designs for Health has rosemary extract, it has frankincense or boswellia in it. That's highly anti-inflammatory. It's got curcumin in it, and it's also got things like white willow bark extract that is kind of the same components as aspirin. That's a great, just semi-blood thinner there that you can do that really makes for a healthy heart as well. So hopefully that gives you some really good ideas as far as what are going to be some of the things that are going to be effective for helping your heart to be well. And one that I just forgot, but I'll mention it. Systemic Formula makes one called CVOR that I really like a lot to at least use for a couple months with somebody with some heart issues. And if you're really trying to vamp up the way the heart works, increase your nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a major player in the overall health of your heart. So things like L-arginine, or if you're eating almonds or almond butter, contains a lot of L-arginine, so you can consume foods with that. Or you can consume, again, supplementation to raise your nitric oxide levels in a safe and effective way. L-arginine is one that can do that as well. So hopefully that gives you guys some ideas. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I think we had a couple more questions. Let me see if I can do this. Health benefits, MCT versus olive oil, which is the best? They're both great, Angela. I would include them both in my diet. I don't think one outweighs the other. MCT is amazing for the brain and for the liver and producing ketones. Olive oil is amazing, again, overall with your cell membranes, with the antioxidants and polyphenols that are in there. So super amazing for your heart as well. So I would consume both of them on a regular basis. Jamie said, please respect the name. Please repeat the name of the olive oil you guys use. It's called Casadrinos. I think it's Kassidrinos. Casadrinos. That's the one that we'll order again, and we get it just shipped on a regular basis. That's really good. So again, check it out. But again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. In the meantime, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. See you guys.